Hey, what's up everybody? Chapter 1100 of One Piece just dropped, and here are the 5 most important moments of the chapter. This list is in order by importance, so I'm going to be jumping around the chapter throughout the video. Entry number 5 is the revelation that Ace defeated a warlord. We get confirmation from Saint J. Garcia that Ace defeated a warlord. So this leads us to ask who exactly this warlord was, and what happened to this warlord after they were defeated by Ace. Because before this chapter, we knew that Ace fought Jinbei to a stalemate, and that was the only warlord we knew that he fought. It'd be interesting to see if this warlord will show up later in the story, and whether they were locked up and impaled down, or if Ace actually killed them. But if this warlord is still alive, it'd be interesting to see if this warlord is actually the man marked in flames, and if they'll be the key to finding this last poneglyph that everybody is searching for. And the 4th most important moment of the chapter is Bonney being captured and held hostage by the government. In order for the government to accept a deal with Kuma, Bonney was going to be held hostage by the world government until Kuma gets rid of his personality and free will. And this is pretty interesting because at this point in the series, it's give or take about a year. I'm going to guess maybe like a year and a couple months before of chapter 1. So by the time Bonney is shown at Sabaody Archipelago and later captured by Akainu, I'm guessing that Bonney just escaped being a hostage by a couple months at that point. So it'd be interesting to see how her relationship with the world government and her relationship with her captors develops. My hypothesis for how she's going to escape from the situation is that she's actually going to transform into the age of Connie and have Connie age down to Bonnie's age and use Connie as a decoy to escape from the church. And I wonder at what point she finds out that she's being held as a hostage. It said that she's going to stay there for like at least a year as she recovers from her sapphire scale. And I would imagine that she probably stays there for the entire year. And once she's healed, she'll be asking like why she can't escape, why she can't see Kuma at that point. So then she decides to break out and find Kuma out traveling in the seas. And coming in at number 3, it's actually going to be the last scene of the chapter, where we see Kuma reaching Fushell Village. And as we all know, this is where Luffy grew up. So I'm really excited to see the next chapter because I really want to know if he's there to see Luffy, whether or not he knows about Luffy at this point, or if he's there to meet Dragon somehow. Because I would imagine that Dragon would sometimes go to Fushell Village, or at least in that island, and see what's going on with Luffy. But at this point, we don't know what will happen. And I'm so excited to see how he interacts with the members of Fushell Village, whether it's Dadan or Luffy himself. But I doubt it's Luffy because he would have known about Kuma at Sabaody Archipelago, and that just won't make sense. And moving on to the second most important / interesting moment of the chapter, it's Kizaru dancing to the beat of Nika's drums. During the flashback, we see that Kizaru is always mixed up right there with Vegapunk and taking care of him as his security guard. And it seems that he's been there the entire time to make sure that Kuma doesn't try to act up and do anything the world government doesn't want him to do. But in time, it seems that they become good friends because we're shown Vegapunk, Kuma, Bonney, Kizaru, and Sentomaru dancing to the beat of Nika's drums. So this, plus a couple of other things I'm going to mention right now, really makes me think that he might switch sides and help the Straw Hats escape Egghead. Because so far in this battle, we see that he refers to himself as a cog in the machine, just following orders and doing what he has to do. But like I said earlier, he was dancing with Vegapunk, Kuma, Bonney, and Sentomaru, all important characters that are going to show up in Egghead. 3 of them are already there, and I'm assuming that Kuma is actually flying towards Egghead right now. So once he gets to see everybody there together, I have a feeling that he's going to turn on Saint J. Garcia and let the Straw Hats escape. Plus, on the first page of the chapter, we actually get a close-up of this one Marine. Oh, and if you see me looking over in this direction, it's because I have the chapter right here. Anyway, like I said, on the first page, we actually see this close-up of a Marine who we don't exactly know who it is, but everybody's most likely 99% sure it's going to be X-Drake, considering he's got the X scar right here on his chin. So with X-Drake being a member of SWORD, that might also mean that Kizaru might have something to do with SWORD. So that's another reason that he might turn against Saint J. Garcia and work with the Straw Hats, since he's already kind of like on the edge of not being a full-fledged member of the Marines. And last but certainly not least, the most important moment of the chapter is when Kuma made a deal with Saint J. Garcia. Kuma said that he will make a deal with the devil to cure Bonney, and that's what he did right now because he made a deal with Saint J. Garcia, and there are 3 conditions in order to save Bonney. The first is becoming a member of the warlords serving under the world government, which is insane because his entire time he's been fighting the world government. He was a slave, he was a revolutionary, and he overthrew that tyrannical king Bakori, I always forget his name. And now he has to be their unyielding lapdog and serve them no matter what. Second, he has to allow his body to be turned to a cyborg robot thing by Vegapunk. And lastly, this is what we see earlier in the series. he has to agree to give up his free will and sense of individuality, which really sucks. I feel so bad for Kuma, but he's ready to give up his entire life to save Bonney. Man, I wish I can show you guys screenshots of the chapter, but it's such an adorable, I don't want to say adorable, but it's so like heartwarming seeing, oh man, I don't want to say heartwarming, more like heartbreaking. This moment of Kuma accepting this deal with St. J. Garcia and just crying of happiness that he's going to be able to save Bonney. It's so sad. Kuma has definitely become like most likely my #1 favorite One Piece character with this flashback. And it sucks it has to be through this heartbreaking flashback. And to include a couple other moments that I thought were really cool from the chapter. The first is that this is the time that Vegapunk started making his satellites. He mentions that he's so busy with everything that he needed extra bodies to like be able to sleep for him, eat for him, go to the bathroom for him. And then we see later when they're eating the pizza that there's a couple satellites, like really basic robots serving them drinks and pizza with codes that say VP and the number 069. So I'm guessing that's like the 69th prototype or something of the satellites that will later be much more smarter and powerful. And the other is actually a collection of a couple moments that shows the father-daughter love of Bonney and Kuma, which I'm just enamored with. I fucking love it. Like in the last moment that Kuma gets to see Bonney before she's gone away and held hostage, he says to her, "Thank you, Bonney. I'm so glad you were born." Oh my god, dude, it's so like I don't even have words for it, to be honest. It's such an amazing father-daughter relationship and I'm so happy for them, but it just sucks that what ends up happening to them. And the other moments that we get to see a panel of Bonney drawing Kuma's face looking all cute and stuff, and it's just a silly little drawing, but he actually ends up turning it into his Jolly Roger on his pirate ship, and I think that's just wonderful. And finally we get to see a couple glimpses of the other warlords reacting to Kuma being named as the newest warlord. So we see Doflamingo, Crocodile, Miss All Sunday, Nico Robin, Mihawk. We also see Alvida and Kobe, Ace, Jinbei, Blackbeard, Pineapple Head. I can't think of his head right now. And Whitebeard as well. Hancock, Gecko Moria, and even the other revolutionaries like Dragon, Sabo, Koala. And I think, I'm forgetting his name right now, but I think his name is Hack? The Fishman karate master that teaches them how to fight. So I'm really interested in seeing how Dragon reacts to this. I know he's going to kind of hate it. I'm sure he's like super confused as to what happened, what made Kuma turn over into a warlord for the government when they're part of the Revolutionary Army. But we're just going to have to see more about it later. I'm guessing that earlier on in this arc when we see Dragon save Kuma and bring him to, I think they're at Kamabaka Island. I want to say that's the first time that they actually meet ever since the flashback on the last chapter. But yeah, that's it for this video. This is a really interesting chapter and it's building up to something really interesting for next chapter when he's at Fushia Village and see what he does there. But until then, I'll see you guys in next week's chapter. Peace.